the meth based on
locale. Yeah, definitely.
Well, based on the people we were interacting with. But anyway, and like, so they were, you know, the demonologist, y'all. My 4-pound min pin could have kicked his ass, okay? My money would have been on Joey all day long, okay? So I was like, wow, these are some weak-ass demons you got there, but whatever. But yeah, they were pretty ridiculous.
He's dealing with the JV demon team.
Yeah, you know.
Well, and we always approached it as a
scientific as much
trying
as possible.
to disprove it as much as you can.
Because anything that was left then just was stronger.
Yeah.
I believe it, but I love to try to disprove it.
Yeah, if I call it evidence, I want to have tried everything to rule it out because I don't want to be like looking like a dumbass.
Well, but there's a couple of things. First of all, to someone who is a hardcore non-believer, and I hate to use that term, but that's the best one, there is no amount of evidence. I mean, a ghost could walk up and slap them in the face.
Take a poop on their hand.
Yeah, and they're going to rationalize it away, you know?
Well, yeah, and that's exactly true. But the problem is with some people who are some people are just like their gullibility is off the scale, and it's not.
Yeah, the other side of that spectrum.
Right. If you can want something so bad, you see something in everything, and I don't ever want to fall into that category. I want to make sure that I've ruled out, natural phenomena, weather,
Well, and also when you talk about just the genre itself. One proven hoax, and there have been a lot.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Discredit everything that came before it.
Just like when we talked about the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and everything else. I mean, that just tears down anything that might have been credible.
Yeah. And,
yeah, exactly.
So I think the only way to do it and have any semblance of respectability about it is to go into it and try, using as many instruments as you can to measure and take readings and record, just rule out, because personal experience is powerful, but it's not enough because that's too
subjective.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, even the hardcore skeptic would say, "Oh, you altered that audio file,"
yeah,
or
you
edited this picture," even though I've seen photo analysts go through all of this stuff and said, "No, this is real." Well, they did something. They did something.
And I think sometimes that's just because people are very uncomfortable with what they can't explain. Me, I'm fascinated. If there's something I've tried to rule out the mundane, and then that's when I start to get excited. Like, this is something really unique, and this is but there are other people that really is frightening for.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a vested interest in.
Part of their self-identity is that idea that
that's not
whatever
so,
it is,
right.
Ghosts don't exist or whatever.
Right.
Because
if they do exist, well, that means what little control you thought you had over things.
Well, yeah, because if whatever you thought isn't the way you thought it, now you've got to reevaluate everything. And for someone who's 15 years old, that's probably not that big of a deal. But for someone who's 50, that could be a real earth-shattering realization.
And I mean, by the nature of paranormal investigating, you're going to get some doozies. I mean, you're going to get people that are on the fringe. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, when we're the normal people in the room, and I think we've done enough of these by now that that we're a little weird.
That's also subjective.
Well, I wear my weirdness like beautiful wings.
Nobody is objectively weird.
But I'm totally down with being weird. But yeah, I mean, then there's some of these motherfuckers we've met. I mean, when you tinfoil hats.
Oh my God! Yes, stiff and rigid.
Seriously, yeah.
the trying to hypnotize me.
The imaginary the imaginary phone with no cords that was ringing.
That was
from the other side.
Unbelievably embarrassing.
Yeah, it was. It was great.
Was it great when you threw me under the bus?
Yes.
To have to fucking babysit him?
Baby, anytime I can throw you under the bus.
Actually, no, you didn't. You threw her under the bus.
I threw her.
And me by proxy.
Yeah, but anytime I can throw...
You know how much I almost walked off?
Anytime I can throw you personally under the bus, it's a good day for me.
Great. That's fucking awesome.
And I say that with love. All the love. But I want to tell my ghost story real quick. and then we'll wrap it up. So Ross and I our place had been hit by a tornado in 2001. My grandfather was my hero. He died when I was 17. And so we lost this tornado, and he had given me a Breyer horse. They're just collectible horse figurines when I was 5 years old, and it started this whole lifetime collection. And of course, most of those were lost in the tornado. And he was American Indian, and I had a little picture when I was 5 years old, my very first play. I was an Indian, and I was all dressed up, and I was so proud, and we took pictures together. And anyway, so we had, once your home is lost in a tornado, ours was completely lost. It was basically the only thing to do was get a bulldozer, start making piles, and burning that pile over and over and over until it got to where you could, scoop it up and haul it off. So I'd say over the course of, 2-3 months, we had burned that pile 6 times. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, and I mean, it had originally started the size of like a school bus and just, got down. And so it was the day that we were hauling it off, scooping up the remnants, and we take a shovelful from the very bottom in the very, very center, and Ross is like, "Oh my God, Brandy." And so I go running over there, and that first little horse I'd gotten at 5 years old, is laying in the center. Everything around it's burned. It's laying there perfect. They're just plastic. I mean, and
so it would have definitely melted.
It would have melted, yeah. And beside it, kind of underneath it, was that little picture. And it was, not a Polaroid, but the little, little square.
The light border.
All the way around that little square. And all around the edges, it was singed, but my papa and I were just perfect. And those were the things at the very bottom. And I've always felt like that was like a message for my papa that, okay, this was hard, but you're going to be okay, and I'm here, and I've never left you. And ever since that day that we found it, it seems like times when my life gets really, really low, he'll just pop in, kind of like you were talking about the man in white, just like peek around the corner, or I'll be working, or I'll walk through the house, and he'll just kind of go walk from one wall and across to the other, and he'll look at me and kind of smile and wink, and then he's gone. But it's just like, I think that's just like a little touch to say, hey, I'm here, and whatever you're dealing with, it's going to get better, and you've got this. And I always feel so strangely comforted. And my dad passed away, 15 years ago. And his mom passed away a year after my dad did. And when my grandmother was a young mother, my dad was like 5 years old, so this was in like 1949, she got a brain tumor, and they had to do a lobotomy. And I mean, that can be, the effects of that
40s.
can be crazy now. Imagine in 1949. And so it completely altered her personality. She went from being loving and laughing and to just vicious. And she remained that until about a year before she died, when she had a stroke, and then it seemed to like reset, strangely enough. But and so when my dad was 5 years old, his whole world changed. Like, the loving mother he had became a stranger, and that was, just a really tough time for him. And then it became a tough time for all of us, because, if people don't deal with their emotional wounds, they're destined to spread them like contagion. And that's what they did. And so I had been at the hospital with my grandmother. We knew she was dying. She had a stroke, and it had paralyzed part of her colon, and they didn't know it at first, and so it turned gangrenous. And so she was just in incredible pain. Like, I remember the last time I saw her, I reached to touch her, and she just was so sensitive from the poisons and the toxins, she just screamed. And that just killed me. But I went home, and I had to go to bed, and I told my sister, call me if you need anything. And she said, I'll let you know. We pretty much knew it was going to be that night. So I went to sleep, and I woke up just boom. I mean, not like just one of those where you just sit up and it's like your alarm went off. You're just instantly awake. And I looked, and my papa was standing at the end of my bed, He was dressed like he always was, but younger. His hair was black again. And he was holding her hand, and she was smiling. And then he was holding my dad's hand, and my dad was like 5. And he smiled at me, and I just sat there with my mouth open like, oh my God, is this? And he just smiled this beautiful smile and kind of took his hand to like gesture towards them. Like, what I got out of it was like, it's all fixed. All of it's back the way it should be. And then he smiled again, and he faded away. They all just faded away. And as he faded, the phone rang. And it was my sister telling me that my grandmother had just passed over. And I think that was just him saying, look, I came and got her. Dickie and I came and got Lorene, and we're all back together, and everything is fixed, and everything is healed, and now you need to go and try to heal. And so that was like, that's what really got me into that and Ross, his heart stopping on the table, that really got me into the paranormal. But so I kind of feel like my papa is sort of like my guardian angel, and that's just incredibly comforting to me. And so that's my personal ghost story. But thank you for listening. We appreciate it. We're going to wrap this up. What we would love for you to do is give us some feedback on your favorite listening platform about your personal ghost stories. And by the way, you got a haunted house you want somebody to come look at? We're your people. We'll do it.
We are.
Thanks. Y'all have a great one. Bye-bye.
Bye.